Oh, man. I got to tell you, when I put this, I still say record, so sorry about that.
I love calling it a record.
When I put this record in, I was like, I don't know, there was something going on inside it. I can't even tell you now, but I'm almost like, I almost don't even want to tell you how much I love it, because I don't know where you go with a great record anymore, because there's not like traditional radio, and there's not MTV, and there's not all the places that I used to know when you'd go, well, here's a great record, so we know it's going to sell a bunch. So when you got to the end of it, you thought, great, I've put it all into the record that I could do.
Yeah, it was one of the moments where reality hit. I mean, I wrote 50-something songs for this record.
Nice.
And
Nice.
This record is full of songs from like teenage years to like when I got married to just life, and it's everything who I am all compiled into one. And so when it was all said and done, it was like, here I am, take it or leave it, and hope for the best.
And you're a preacher's kid?
Yeah.
PK, is that what you are?
PK, man.
I just can't tell you how many artists that I've met that are either PK or from military families. Yeah. What's the deal with that? Is there something wrong with all of you, or is there something right with all of you?
I think maybe there's definitely something right with me, and maybe the fact that we don't really have much money, so we just get a guitar and have to get stuck in a room and figure out how to sing about the blues that way.
Yeah. Are the blues the things that brought you closer to God?
Yeah. I living my life. I was selfish and wild and
human being.
Yeah, didn't really care, and I found out that real quick that if I kept living life like that, it was going to be a dead end. And so
your dad didn't tell you this because he was a preacher?
Yeah, he told me. He told me.
But were you listening?
My 35 youth pastors told me, the 400 different Sunday school teachers. And
nice.
Now, man, for me, I came to the point where my girlfriend got pregnant, kicked out of school, just all this stuff started happening. I was like, whoa, I'm out here, whether my dad's told me this or my Sunday school teachers told me this, I'm out here having to deal with this right now on my own. And so I figured out real quick the man that I wasn't, and figured out real quick that what I'd learned, the stuff that my dad had taught me and youth pastors had, that it lined up and it was right. And the only way out of this was to die to myself and give up and let God have it.
Girlfriend got pregnant, assume that's your baby.
Yep.
Did she have that baby?
Yeah.
Was there conversation about not having that baby?
There was conversations other places about it, but it was weird.
What do you mean other places? Other people were having the conversations for you?
Friends were kind of chiming
sure, yeah.
in.
No, I don't doubt it.
But there was just something inside of me that was like, we've done this. We've done everything wrong that we possibly can. Let's do it right from here on out. And
wow.
So we got married. We've been married 8 years.
Wow.
I got a 7-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son, and a daughter that will be 2 weeks old.
Are you serious?
Tuesday.
Congratulations, dude.
Thanks, man.
Wow.
So I'm ready to get back home and see her.
I don't even know what to ask. I guess what I want to ask is, did your parents want to disown you when this happened?
No. Believe it or not, my dad came up to me and my mom came up, and we were talking about it, and they were like, hey, tell us what's going on. We know something's going on. Tell us now.
Oh, so were you a little bit trying to hide it from them for a little bit?
I was, but it caught up with me where I had to just tell them. And so my dad looked me in the eyes and he said, son, I don't know if you want to get married. I don't know what you want to do. He said, but what you will do is you'll forever take care of this woman, and you'll forever take care of this girl. So that's what I did. And I was like, well, we're going to get married, and here we are today, 8 years later.
I think my dad would have said something like, haven't I knocked enough sense into you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't mean that. He would have meant it genuinely, too. Angry, but also genuinely, too.
Yeah, he had that look in his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even going to mention it because you already know.
Right.
So
we will not use the P word in this conversation
yes.
of pregnancy, right?
Exactly.
So how did you lay in bed at night and go, why God? Or were you pissed at God? How do you take responsibility at that age? It was internally.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, I think I was too young and dumb to figure it out at the second. I literally, the way I took care of it was like, you know what? This is what's happened. We're gonna take it on, and we did. We just loved on each other and just went. And as great as that sounds, the pissed at God part came on later. So, and
Really?
when I had the baby, and the baby was there, and I'm working my butt off, to pay bills, and working 2 jobs, and
Right.
music started becoming on the scene. It was like, I know I want to do music, but how do you make this happen with a wife and a baby? And I'm 17 years old, and
Right.
it's what happens, man. It's life.
So were you going to a Christian school, by the way?
I was. Yep. They kicked me out.
Did they kick you out
Yep.
for that? That automatic expel?
I didn't see it in the contracts, but yeah.
Did she get kicked out?
She had just graduated.
Oh, okay.
She's older than me. So, yeah. Had a thing for an older lady.
Well, but I guess better than the reverse, right?
Yeah.
Could have been serious.
Exactly.
Could have been serious. Well, that must have given you a renewed hope in the Christian faith and whatnot for being accepting and loving for all our mistakes.
Yeah. Just they showed me Christ-like love. Not.
Church-like love, maybe, right? Wow. Yeah, I just can't imagine going through all that kind of junk. So did you end up graduating high school?
I did. I homeschooled.
Yeah. Okay.
So that I could get a job, because I had to get a job, and
Yeah.
and we just kept on pushing on and kept on pushing on. It was hard. That was probably the hardest part of my career, was trying to find myself in all of that as it was happening, and then
Wow.
my wife trying to figure out. I'm 18, was just graduating high school. Now, any dream that I had, I got to be mommy.
Yeah,
and
right.
so we did it.
Yeah, so I wondered how did it change your dreams? Or did it just put them on hold?
I think it shaped our dreams.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't do music. I played guitar, and I loved music, but I played drums, and but I didn't do music like I want to be a singer when I
Right.
grow up.
Yeah.
I've always loved it, but we were on our way back from Gatlinburg, and the song came on, and I sang it, and she was like, "Oh, you sound great," and I was like, "Yeah, you just really love me." But she started telling me like she loved my singing, and started pushing me to do it, and so I was like, "All right, well, here it goes." So now I just tell her, I was like, if times get hard, I'm just like, "Hey, you push me to do this."
What song were you singing to?
Oh, I forget. I think it was like some Tim McGraw song, probably.
Yeah. Do you classify your music? I mean, do you throw it into a rock world? Do you throw it into a country rock world? How do you even think about it?
I don't think about it.
That's good.
I mean,
Thank you.
I'm a Southern dude, so as cliche as it sounds, I really just play whatever comes out.
Love it. So it's going to be all right. Did it come? Is that one of those songs that kind of came from that situation in a way? If not,
Yeah, that's what this whole record's about, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of about life in general, and how that meets Christian faith, and how that meets God. And "Gonna Be Alright" is one of them anthems for me that I kind of leaned on. I was like, hey, at the end of the day, it's gonna be all right. And "Come to the River," why I wanted that to be like the title of the record, that was an actual literal moment where I got along with God, ended up smack dab in front of a river, just yelling at God, going, what the heck, man? Like, you've called me to do this. I get that. But it's not working out. Could you make it a little bit easier? Can you help me out? I've got to be a dad, a husband, a provider, and
yeah.
and I think God was probably just sitting up there laughing, going, if you'd shut up for a second, I'd probably show you how. But
See, the reason I think you're lying to me now is because I don't think you used the word heck.
Oh, I definitely didn't.
But I probably ended about the same way, right? I guess when you're searching for direction like that, I don't know how you hear God when you're screaming. You know what I mean? You're right, because like you said, maybe he's up there laughing because if you just shut up for a minute. But I guess is that the first time when you felt like you really broke down and said, okay, I need help here. I need direction.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
And it was in the midst of, I guess, from the outward, like the outside looking in, you could have been like, well, look, he's doing music, he's doing his dreams, he's doing this.
Yeah.
But, I told my wife, I was like, I'm shutting off my phone, I'm getting in the car, and I'm going to hash this out with God, talk with God. Whatever happens, we're going in and we're talking about this. And it was the best thing that I've ever done, in my relationship with Christ, and I do it all the time now. I mean, and even my wife now will be like, I think it's probably one of them times, you need to go get along with God because you need to figure this out, and it's relationship, man.
So you see a river.
Yeah.
It's time. Pull the bus over. It's time for me to get out.
Yeah. Oh, there's another river. I need to go talk with God.
It's like Pavlov's dog. I gotta talk. I must be doing something wrong because I see a river.
Yeah. Oh God, you put another river out there. What did I do?
Then "Make Me New," I guess maybe is the perfect song after that, right?
Yeah. It really is. It's one of them. It's a hard-hitting song that's just straight to the point. And one of my things for writing is I want to be just honest, and I want to be blatantly obvious, and not try to sugarcoat it with all this feel-good stuff. Or, sometimes I just want to write what comes straight out. And "Make Me New" is that song. There's nothing special. It's just what I felt in rock and roll format, and let's go burn the place down and sing it.
So when you thought when you stepped away from that river, did you right then go, okay, I've turned my life around? Is that what you thought? I mean, like, okay, I've done this. Okay, I am really now turning the new page.
Well, I think I'd put it, when I walked away from that river, I said, there's two ways this can go. I can either keep on trying to do it by myself, or I can honestly say what I just told God. And what I just told God was, you're right, I'm still trying to do it in my own strength. I give up. And so, I had to make the decision right then and there. And I kind of knew that, if I wanted to, I could keep running around and run myself ragged trying to do it in my own strength, but it'd go nowhere quick.
I'm just saying, if I was Preacher Man Dad, I'd look at you and go, told you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even give the credit to God, right? I'd be like, I told you this a long time
Exactly.
ago. So did you go talk to your dad about this kind of discovery?
Yeah. I mean, me and him are best friends now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And he's still a pastor, and he's in an area in South Carolina where things are just changing and evolving greatly in the church. And, he's come up against a lot of hard times too. So we're right there on the same page with each other, like, oh, your week's been hard. Guess what mine's been?
Yeah, right.
But also, guess what God's doing, and just kind of walking each other through it. I love it.
Yeah, I don't wish other people's lives, but I really don't wish the life of a pastor on somebody.
Oh, yeah, man.
I don't know how many people you have to answer to and how much crap you have to hear. And I mean that sort of rumor mill stuff that goes around, that because he or she isn't doing enough, or they had a drink with somebody at the wrong time of day, or whatever, I mean.
Dude, pastor position can be one of the loneliest positions to do. I mean, to a place to work.
Being lonely, yeah.
Like, I mean, you got your bride and you've got God, but sometimes, I've seen him before. Sometimes, it feels like the whole world's against you. Everybody disagrees. Everybody thinks you're an idiot, until God shows up, and then it's like, oh, I believed in you all along. It's like, no, you didn't. Shut up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and somebody's pissed because the carpet in the sanctuary isn't wasn't voted on properly or something.
Exactly, and that carpet was donated for, Miss Louise, who died 400 years ago.
Right. Yeah, there could be, I should be interviewing that dude.
Yeah.
I mean, but for real. But one of those things where you sort of put it away and just take it out about 50 years from now and go, this is what it's really like to be a pastor, because
exactly.
I don't wish it. So I guess if the whole record's like that, right? When Mercy Found Me, I guess I love that kind of idea when life is beating you down, when you finally got to give it up.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, when we sat down, I was like, I want this to be the first single. I want this to be the first thing that goes out, and people know who Rhett Walker Band is, because that's my testimony in a song.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, literally from start to finish. I told everybody, I said, I want to write a song, man, this is who Rhett was, this is who Rhett is, and this is who Rhett's striving to be.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, pen to pad, let's do it.
I guess that's why I love Get Up, Get Out, because I think that's who we want to be, right?
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, that was a very interesting song. That was a song that I was in a driveway, just standing beside my car, just thinking about life and thinking about people and friends and enemies and, just life in general, and just how things can be crazy. And, if we just keep standing still, we're dying.
Yeah.
And sometimes my main thing for Rhett Walker to be heard is life we take way too seriously. If we can just live life, we can talk about God and just have fun and go tell people what it's all about. I mean, that's the way it's meant to be, and that's what that song's about. Is like, man, I don't have time for this. I'm going to go out. I'm going to tell people about Christ. I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to, burn every place down that I go into with some good old rock and roll. So I ain't got time for it. Get up and get out of the way.
Well, when did you decide that you had to stand up for it rather than just live it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was, part of that come to the river moment.
Yeah.
And where it was like, I'm putting my faith in Christ, and I'm putting my trust in Christ for this. Well, I can't just live on that and say, God, thank you for giving me this grace, and sit with it. That's not fair, And so I was like, man, I want to go out and tell people about this. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. I'm going to, show this.
So that skull ring that you have, that represents what part of your faith?
That represents the fact that I think it's freaking awesome.
I was going to say, it represents that I could punch you right in the nose right now and break it easily.
And if you don't get up and get out of the way, I'm going to leave a skull ring on the forehead.
Wow, what's that indentation in your forehead? That's a skull. That's Rhett Walker's.
RWB gave it to me.
Well, all I need is really setting it straight, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really do, man. It's kind of, hidden right there in the middle, and we didn't know exactly, even where we were going to go with that. We just sat down with that song and was like, here's the idea. And me and Jason Ingram wrote that song, and I had an hour and a half to a meeting, to get to a meeting. I was like, here's my idea, dude. Play the piano. Let me sing it real quick. And we didn't know where we were going to go with it, what we were going to do. And so when we got in the studio, it was a real cool moment. We just cut the lights down, walked in there. We tracked the record live. So we just walked in there and was like, here's my idea. Here's what the lyrics are saying. Let's get in that moment and go for it.
Are you reaching out for God then in that song?
Yeah, definitely. And
is it because you're still reaching out for God?
Always.
Yeah.
And two, that song to me is so many times when we're reaching out for God, we miss what God's actually trying to show us. And I feel like we're reaching out and we're going, oh, God, my life's so hard. Oh, God, this valley's so, deep. This mountain's so high. It goes back to the thing when, I was on the way to the river. It's if we'd shut up every now and then and let God speak and let God be God, he might teach us a few things. And so that's one of them things where it's you know what, God, you might have me in this moment and the rain's just flooding this town, but I'm going to stand here with my arms raised and I'm going to praise you through it, and I'm going to, learn what you want me to learn and move on.
What do you mean when you say not letting God be God? Because God's always God.
Yeah, God's always God.
So is it my issue when I don't let... I don't know. Yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, God's always God. You cannot get in the way of God. I mean, he is all-knowing, all-powerful, and we serve a risen Savior who has handled it. But we can get in the way of ourselves in our own life and not let God be God. And I've been guilty millions of times of playing God in my life. And it's easy to Jesus juke people and be like, I just feel like God's calling me to go get this coffee right now, and and it's oh, he did. Well, I feel like God's telling me to tell you to grab me one too when you're out there, But I mean, and then in bigger things too,
I know,
we
but
do,
still,
man.
right.
It's I just come back. Maybe it's how I was raised and where I was raised. I just come back to the fact that we take ourselves way too seriously, and if we let God be God, a lot of things would be a lot easier.
Well, I think that's why you're right, brother. I mean, just you can't make it alone, right?
Exactly. And brother, I wrote that song about a pastor.
Oh, really?
That I knew, and
interesting.
He quit bringing it back to the gospel, and I told him, I was like, man, I worked there, I was on staff there, and I was like, man, if we're not bringing it back to the gospel, what's the point? I mean, really, what's the point? We're just a building with motivational speaking, and we've got too many sissy people out there doing motivational speaking like Joel Osteen, and I ain't got time for it. So it's like, if we're not bringing it back to the gospel, I'm out. And so I ended up having to quit, and I was just thinking, man, this is one of them things where he's putting himself up on a pedestal, and it just makes me so mad. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, man, how many times have I done that? We're all in need of the very same grace. And I love when God gives me the little slaps in the face like that. Like, oh yeah, that's right, I ain't perfect, as much as I think I am sometimes.
Yeah, I can look at that Joel Osteen types and sort of go, really? But there's another part of me that goes, well, maybe that's the first glimpse that somebody who won't get what you're singing about,
yeah,
and won't get what we're talking about right now, maybe that's the first glimpse they get of something more and better out there, and that's why they are vital.
Yeah.
But for me, I look at it and listen to it and go, ugh.
And that's my point. Like, that's why it has to,
right,
at the end, always come back to the gospel. Because if not, it leaves you kind of going, well, how do I get that? And it's all about a walk, man, and figuring out what you want to do with your life, because we're all searching for something bigger and better than ourselves, and the only thing is Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know if it always has to come back to the gospel for me, because there's a part of me that loves motivational stuff, and I'm jumping straight to, like, Can't Break Me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for you, it might be rooted in gospel. For me, I'm just like, heck yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't need exactly what you mean.
I don't even need to find that it's, goes to Philippians, whatever, or whatever you kind of found that, if you will. But that's what I'm thinking. But talk to me about that song, too.
Yeah, Can't Break Me is that song where, I mean, it's kind of, it's our pedestal that we stand on. It's like, hey, you can't. I don't care if the devil comes knocking at my, daggone front door. Like, I know what I stand on, and I know who you are, so I will tear it down every time.
And it's also is a part of about living close to the edge, too. Close to the edge of where, I guess, where you need to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it feels alive there. If there's, I don't know, I feel alive there. I feel like I'm doing something right. And I had somebody tell me one time, if you don't have haters and you don't have people trying to stop what you're doing, you're not doing something right, because you're not changing anything. So I kind of live on that.
So would I be a better interviewer if I was hating on you right now?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you got to get angry, man.
Well, the song Vessel kind of sucks. Okay, and the reason I think it sucks is because everybody's searching for a better life.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I don't know if God can always help. So defend your GD song.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a better interviewer.
Well, God has put me in front of you right now, so you just accept this, mister.
Are you a Calvinist or not? This is predestined.
It's predestined to end right now, right? I will end this interview easily, or I will at least jack this microphone cord out so you'll never use it again. Anyway, talk to me about that song Vessel, because I just love that idea of searching for a better life.
Yeah, I mean that's it, man. Vessel. I was sitting in my house, my wife and kids had gone to bed, and I was kind of thinking about that moment, and I just got done reading the book The Shack.
Oh yeah,
and where the dad got the letter, and he's going out to the woods, and there's a line in it that says, he was headed out to the woods. It said he would take a step, and then he would take a step back, and he would take another step, take a step back. And what stuck out to me was he was scared to do what he had no choice to do, and sometimes that's how life goes. It's like, I really don't want to do this, but I have no choice but to do this. But the only thing that we can count on is, at the end of the day, is, we belong to Christ. And that's where we find our strength.
Why do you think some of us, and I'm not always in this group, but I'm including myself right now, why do some of us, we take a step forward, step back, a couple steps forward, we finally end up in the shack in this particular example. But there's plenty of people who just are so, I can't do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who just go, you know what, I'm just going to sit in the background and you tell me what goes on in the shack.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, what's the difference between us and those other people, or me and you, when you're willing to take a step forward and I'm not? I don't know.
Energy.
Is it? Is it?
I don't know.
Is it God closer to you? Is it God with God's energy? Is it God's courage? Is it my trust in Him?
Yeah,
her, whatever. However you
that's
think of God.
especially if you're going to shack, him or her.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, man. I mean, that's a good question, because it's like, where's the line? Like, when we step up and we say, God, I'm going to do this, is there some kind of more like, power that comes behind that, or
right.
as much as someone else who's just sitting back and being like, God, I trust you.
Right.
And that's a hard spot. I just 9 times out of 10 choose to be the guy that's going to kick the door down. I don't want to be the guy to find out later on. I want to kick it down and find out myself.
Yeah, I'm willing to lose a foot over that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Any time, dude.
Right.
I've got 2 of them.
And Singing Stone. Yeah, I guess, when I'm talking about and all this stuff, right? But if sometimes you kind of look at things, and if maybe that's what we're talking about right now, is when you're living that meaningless life, and you discover, well, God, you're that awesome that I can actually decide to try to kick this door down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of all the meaninglessness I've already lived.
Yeah.
Is that where that song is at?
Yeah, it's like lessons learned. It's like life lived and lessons learned. And
oh, that's cool.
I kind of I wrote that song with Stephen Delopoulos and from Burlap to Kashmir, and he wrote like one verse and I wrote one verse, and we just kind of came back together. I've never wrote a song like that before except for him. And I mean, that song is about that. It's like life lived and lessons learned, and it didn't quite turn out like I thought it would.
Yeah.
But it still turned out for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and talk to me about this acoustic EP, because I would think that your songs translate so well acoustically. In fact, I wondered if that's how they were kind of written, right?
Oh, every single one of them.
Right, okay.
Yeah, got the acoustic EP, and we got When Mercy Found Me on there and another song on there, and we just kind of stripped it down to be, where the lyrics stand out. There's also a new song on there, and there's also a special treat on there.
You mean what, like a Snickers bar?
Yeah, man. You download the acoustic EP, and a Snickers bar will pop out of your CD-ROM. And my management company and label promises you that. I don't promise. So blame it on them.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah. Now that you can just push off, well, I hired you for a reason. Because whatever I say in an interview goes.
Take this backlash, go.
I actually want to hear, what is the new song?
It's called The Other Side.
Oh, right. Isn't that the name of the EP?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And we tracked that song when we tracked the record.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone back and started messing with it, started doing some stuff. When we did it for the record, it was one thing, but we were like, let's live with this. Let's live with this for a little bit. And it's funny how a song will change and mold when you're some parts you're like, man, that was a good line. Man, I was an idiot for writing that line. Let me change that before anyone hears it. And you just kind of live with it and see what happens. And I'm pretty excited about the EP and people hearing the new song.
But what is the song about? What is the song
The Other
lyrically
Side?
About? Yeah.
Lyrically, The Other Side is about the other side. It's about heaven and living here on earth. And it's a front porch kind of like sitting, swinging, sweet tea sipping kind of song.
Swing
just
life
banjos.
away. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we're just that's how we did it, and it's just talking about you're never going to find fulfillment in this dirty, messed up world that we live in. But the cool thing is that we actually have a purpose in it, and we have something to look forward to.
How do you know there's a heaven coming?
This good Lord.
How's that? Well, because the reason I ask it is because I know I have no control over it. Right? I just know that, okay, I believe there's a heaven,
yeah.
Right? But I know I have because nobody's ever come back to say, yeah, there is. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Even though people have said it, but I can't believe them because I don't think they really went there and came back. And so I'm just saying I have no control over it. I just know that I have to live my life the best I can with this God that I think I'm working with, right? And all of a sudden I kind of go, well, I think I live my life the same whether there's a heaven there or not. I guess that's what I'm trying to say out loud.
Well, first off, I believe definitely without a shadow of doubt there is a heaven and a hell. But man, I've been there many times where I've been like, what is heaven? You know, what is hell? And you know, there's scripture that talks about it, but then there's scripture that's so vague that it's like,
right.
you know, and 50 million people have different things. But you know, my thing is, I know who Christ is, and I know what scripture and historically what Jesus did. So I'm like, that's the only thing I can live on is the fact that He's coming back to save my wretched soul.
He's coming back?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Don't you go to heaven? Now I'm confused where the meeting place actually is.
Yeah, I'm confused about that. And let's talk about, like, you know, post-trib and all that, too, and just really...
What did you say? What is it? Post-trib?
Yeah. And, well, when
I don't know what that is.
Well, when do we go? Does the rapture happen?
Oh, I see. So
there's
a lot of souls hanging out there in between right now.
When do we go to heaven? Do we hang out here on earth when Jesus comes back and the whole battle of Satan? Let's get in a really deep theological talk.
Well,
and then ask what my favorite dinner is.
Exactly. Why? Why will you not eat lima beans?
Whenever you finish that heaven conversation, we'll talk about lima beans.
Well, it's funny because I guess, again, I just always, even when I feel like I'm uplifted by songs and I feel like, God, life couldn't get any better, and once in a while when my brain comes back and goes, well, remember, you only have limited time on earth, so one, make the most of it. So that's where my kind of circle of thoughts go. And when I kind of hear, then that's when I finally came down to, I guess it doesn't matter. In a way, it's just what is. Okay, that's what it is. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I have to trust that it is greatness and it's beautiful and better.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in life that's what it is.
Right.
What it is what it is. And
right.
You know, I think it comes down to the fact on what you want to choose to trust and believe in, you know.
Right.
And I choose to trust in what Christ says and what the Bible says. But the only problem with that is, as soon as you start to, well, it's not a problem, I guess I would say, but as soon as you start, all your answers are never going to be questioned. All your questions are never going to, I'm going on 2 hours of sleep here. All of your questions are never going to all be answered.
Right,
and, and that's just a fact that you have to face and realize, man, I hope I'm doing what's right. I hope I'm honoring Christ. I'm hoping I'm taking care of my family. And keep pushing on.
Well, dude, until next time when I will have probably even more questions.
Sweet.
I hope you have a good life. So, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thanks, man. Thanks for hanging out.
All right.